The afternoon sun cast long shadows through the towering glass doors of the Grand Plaza Hotel as a distinguished gentleman in his mid-40s made his way across the marble floor. His Italian leather shoes moved soundlessly across the polished surface, each step measured and confident. The man's success was evident not just in his perfectly tailored charcoal gray suit, but in the way he carried himself, shoulders back, head high, with the quiet assurance of someone who had built an empire from the ground up. As the founder and CEO of one of the fastest-growing tech companies in the country, he had transformed a small startup in his garage into a billion-dollar enterprise that was revolutionizing the way people think about artificial intelligence and renewable energy. His company had just closed another successful quarter, and he was in town for a major technology conference where he would be delivering the keynote speech the next morning. The lobby of the Grand Plaza buzzed with the usual afternoon activity. Business executives huddled in plush armchairs, discussing deals over expensive coffee. Tourist families dragged their luggage toward the elevators, while uniformed staff moved efficiently between tasks. Crystal chandeliers threw rainbow patterns across the walls, and the sweet scent of fresh flowers drifted from massive arrangements that dotted the space. He paused for a moment to take in the grandeur of the hotel. The Grand Plaza had been a symbol of luxury for over 50 years, its reputation built on exceptional service and unmatched elegance. The sweeping staircase, the hand-painted ceiling murals, the antique furnishings, everything spoke of old money and tradition. He'd stayed in countless high-end hotels around the world, from Dubai to Tokyo, but there was something special about this place. Something that had drawn him to make a reservation here specifically, despite other options being available closer to the conference center. Adjusting his platinum watch, a reminder of his first major business success, he reached into his suit jacket and pulled out his phone to double-check his reservation details. Everything was in order, just as his executive assistant had confirmed that morning. He had booked the presidential suite for 3 nights, complete with the hotel's premium business services package. Taking a deep breath of the jasmine-scented air, he stepped toward the front desk. The gleaming brass nameplate on the counter caught the light, promising excellence in service since 1972. Behind the marble counter, 3 staff members were busy with their tasks, though only one noticed his approach. As he walked closer, he felt the familiar weight of his company keycard in his pocket, the same keycard that granted him access to offices where hundreds of employees worked to bring his vision to life. Little did he know that this ordinary Tuesday afternoon check-in would become a turning point, not just in his own story, but in a much larger narrative about change, dignity, and the power of transforming negativity into opportunity. The next few minutes would set in motion a chain of events that would reshape not only the future of the Grand Plaza Hotel, but the entire hospitality industry's approach to inclusive luxury. He stood at the counter now, platinum rewards card ready, his phone displaying the confirmation email with his booking details. Everything was in perfect order, just as it always was in his meticulously organized life. Yet something in the air had shifted, a subtle change in the atmosphere that his years of business experience had taught him to notice. The way the staff member's smile didn't quite reach their eyes, the sudden whispered conversation between 2 other employees, the security guard who had inexplicably moved closer to the desk. These were all signs that this would not be a typical hotel check-in. The front desk staff member's fingers moved slowly across the keyboard, deliberately avoiding eye contact with the successful businessman standing before them. "I'm sorry, sir," they said, their voice carrying a rehearsed tone that didn't match their apologetic words. "I'm having trouble locating your reservation in our system." He remained calm, having faced similar situations before. Reaching into his jacket pocket, he pulled out his phone and pulled up the confirmation email. "I have the confirmation right here," he said quietly, turning the screen to show the detailed booking information. It was made 3 weeks ago for the presidential suite. The staff member glanced at the phone, then back at their computer screen. "Yes, I see the confirmation number, but..." They paused, exchanging quick glances with their colleagues. It seems there was a system glitch. The room appears to have been double booked. Just then, another guest approached the counter next to him. A businessman in a less expensive suit who hadn't made a prior reservation. The second staff member greeted them warmly, checked their system, and within minutes was handing over a room key to one of the hotel's luxury suites. The contrast wasn't lost on anyone present. The tech CEO noticed the security guard had moved even closer, standing just a few feet away now, hand resting near his radio as if preparing for trouble. It was a familiar scene to any successful person of color. The assumption that questioning unfair treatment would lead to an incident. Taking another slow breath, he maintained his professional demeanor. "I understand these things happen," he said, his voice steady and clear. "Perhaps we could look at alternative rooms. I noticed your website showed several suites available when I checked this morning." The staff member's response came too quickly. "I'm afraid we're completely booked now, sir. There's a convention in town." They slid a business card across the counter. "There's a nice hotel about 20 minutes from here that might be able to accommodate you. Would you like me to call them?" He picked up the card, noting it was for a budget chain hotel near the airport, worlds away from the five-star luxury of the Grand Plaza. Through the lobby's grand windows, he could see several vacant parking spots in the premium guest area, telling a different story than the one being presented. Rather than argue, he pulled out his notebook and began writing. He noted the time, the staff members' badge numbers, and the contradictory information about room availability. His years in business had taught him that documentation was more powerful than confrontation. As he wrote, he observed the lobby more carefully. Behind the grand facade, he noticed signs of decline. A slightly frayed carpet edge, water stains on one ceiling corner, outdated payment terminals at the desk. His business instincts, the same ones that had helped him build his technology empire, began to tick away at these details. The staff shifted uncomfortably as he wrote, perhaps expecting him to raise his voice or demand to speak to a manager. Instead, he simply looked up and asked, "Could you print me a formal document stating that my confirmed reservation cannot be honored? I'll need it for my records." The request caught them off guard. It was professional, reasonable, and impossible to refuse without admitting their discrimination outright. As they fumbled with the printer, he noticed a small sign near the desk advertising the hotel's parent company and current market value. He slipped his notebook back into his pocket, already forming a plan. While they might see him as an unwelcome guest today, he was beginning to see something very different, an opportunity. Years of facing similar situations had taught him that success was the best response to prejudice, but true victory meant creating change that went beyond personal vindication. As he waited for the printed document, he pulled out his phone again, not to argue about his reservation, but to send a quick message to his financial advisor. Sometimes, he reflected, the most powerful response to closed doors was to buy the building. Walking out of the Grand Plaza Hotel, the tech CEO felt a familiar mixture of emotions. Frustration mingled with determination. The afternoon sun still shone brightly, but his mind was already working overtime, processing the incident in the way that had helped him build his billion-dollar company, by turning obstacles into opportunities. He crossed the street to a small coffee shop, ordered a drink, and settled into a corner table with a clear view of the hotel's main entrance. Opening his laptop, he began methodically documenting everything that had just happened. His fingers moved swiftly across the keyboard as he recorded every detail, the exact times, the contradictory statements about room availability, and the telling behaviors he observed. As he worked, he watched different guests entering the hotel. A young couple in casual clothes walked in and emerged minutes later with room keys. A family with 3 noisy children wheeled their suitcases through the doors and were promptly assisted by the same staff who had claimed no rooms were available. Each successful check-in was noted in his growing document. Taking a sip of his coffee, he pulled out his phone and opened his calendar. The technology conference, where he was supposed to speak tomorrow, would have to be handled differently. He called his assistant, explaining the situation calmly and asking them to book him into another hotel, but to keep the original Grand Plaza reservation confirmation for his records. "Should I file a formal complaint?" his assistant asked, clearly upset on his behalf. "Not yet," he replied thoughtfully, watching as a maintenance worker struggled with a broken door at the hotel's side entrance. "I have something else in mind." Over the next hour, he did what he did best: research. His fingers flew across his laptop keyboard as he dug into publicly available information about the Grand Plaza. The hotel's occupancy rates had been declining for the past 3 years. Their online reviews showed a pattern of inconsistent service. The property's tax assessments revealed deferred maintenance issues. He noticed a group of business people leaving the hotel, complaining loudly about the spotty Wi-Fi and outdated conference facilities. Another piece of the puzzle clicked into place. In an era where modern amenities were essential, the Grand Plaza was falling behind its competitors. Opening a new document, he began making notes about potential improvements. Updated technology infrastructure, modernized conference facilities, enhanced security systems that focused on genuine threats rather than prejudiced assumptions. He could already envision how the space could be transformed while preserving its historic charm. His phone buzzed with messages from colleagues who had heard about the incident. Some were outraged, urging him to go public with his story. Others suggested legal action. He appreciated their support, but kept his responses brief. Experience had taught him that real change required more than just exposing wrongdoing. It required creating new opportunities. As the afternoon wore on, he made several quiet phone calls to his financial team and industry contacts. The questions he asked were careful and strategic, about property values in the area, about the hotel's parent company, about potential investment opportunities in the hospitality sector. Each answer helped form a clearer picture of what needed to be done. Looking up from his work, he noticed the hotel's golden logo catching the late afternoon sun. The sight reminded him of something his grandmother used to say: "When they show you who they are, show them who you can become." A small smile crossed his face as he saved his documents and closed his laptop. He had come to the Grand Plaza expecting a simple hotel stay. Instead, he'd found his next big project. As he packed up his things and headed to his new hotel, his mind was already mapping out the steps that would transform this moment of discrimination into a powerful story of change. The real work was just beginning. Over the next 6 months, the tech CEO's corner office became a command center for what his team privately called Project Transform. The wall-to-ceiling windows that usually displayed the city skyline were now covered with maps, charts, and photographs of the Grand Plaza Hotel. Each morning, he arrived early to review new data and refine his strategy. What started as a response to discrimination had evolved into something much bigger. His research revealed that the Grand Plaza wasn't just a single hotel with a problem. It was part of a larger hotel group struggling to adapt to changing times. The company's stock had been declining steadily, and rumors of a possible sale were beginning to circulate in business circles. One rainy morning, as he reviewed the latest financial reports, his property assessment team delivered surprising news. The hotel's maintenance issues were far worse than they appeared on the surface. Behind the elegant facade, there were outdated electrical systems, inefficient heating and cooling, and plumbing that needed major upgrades. The team estimated the renovation costs would discourage most potential buyers. But where others saw problems, he saw potential. In his conference room, he gathered his most trusted advisors, architects, financial experts, and hospitality consultants. Together, they mapped out a vision for what the Grand Plaza could become. The old-fashioned business center could be transformed into a state-of-the-art digital workspace. The tired ballrooms could be renovated into flexible event spaces with cutting-edge technology. He spent weekends walking the streets around the hotel, talking to local business owners and residents. He learned about the neighborhood's history, its challenges, and its dreams for the future. These conversations shaped his plans in unexpected ways. The hotel wouldn't just be a luxury destination, it could become a vital part of the community. His financial team worked overtime, crunching numbers and preparing proposals. They discovered that the hotel group's majority shareholders were quietly looking for an exit strategy. The CEO's technology company had cash reserves that could make a compelling offer, especially since other potential buyers were scared away by the renovation costs. Late one evening, as he reviewed the latest draft of his acquisition proposal, he found himself thinking about the hotel staff who had turned him away months ago. Instead of anger, he felt a deep sense of purpose. His plans now included a comprehensive training program, not just in customer service, but in cultural awareness and inclusive hospitality. The wall of his office held before and after sketches of the proposed renovations. The artists had captured his vision perfectly, preserving the hotel's historic charm while bringing it firmly into the modern age. The grand lobby would keep its crystal chandeliers, but would add subtle technological touches that would make every guest feel welcomed and valued. His assistant knocked on his door with the latest market analysis. The hotel group stock had dropped another 2 points, making the timing perfect for his move. He'd spent months quietly buying shares through various investment vehicles, carefully staying below the threshold that would require public disclosure. What impressed his team most wasn't just the business strategy, but how he had transformed an incident of discrimination into an opportunity for widespread positive change. The renovation plans included partnerships with local colleges, offering internships and training programs for students from underrepresented communities who wanted to enter the hospitality industry. As he signed the final papers authorizing his team to begin acquisition talks, he thought about how different the hotel's future could be. The same halls that had been unwelcoming would soon open their doors to everyone. The same spaces that had preserved old prejudices would become examples of inclusive excellence. His phone buzzed with a message from his real estate team. The hotel group's board of directors had agreed to a preliminary meeting. Picking up his carefully prepared presentation folder, he smiled. Sometimes, he reflected, the best way to change a broken system was to buy it and fix it yourself. The morning sun streamed through the Grand Plaza Hotel's windows, casting the same golden light as it had 6 months ago. But this time, when the tech CEO walked through the front doors, everything was different. His polished shoes crossed the marble floor with purpose, accompanied by a small group of executives and lawyers. The front desk staff straightened up as the group approached, not yet knowing who they were. The same security guard who had hovered nearby during the previous incident now stood at attention, watching the formal procession with curiosity. A few guests in the lobby paused their conversations, sensing something important was about to happen. The hotel manager hurried out from their office, greeting the group with a practiced smile. "Welcome to the Grand Plaza. We've prepared the main conference room for the meeting." Their eyes flickered with uncertainty, clearly wondering why such a large group of executives had arrived. As they walked through the lobby, the CEO noticed how little had changed in the past months. The same frayed carpet edges, the same water stains on the ceiling, the same outdated check-in systems at the front desk. But soon, all of that would be transformed. In the conference room, representatives from the hotel group's board of directors waited nervously. The sale had been conducted through layers of investment firms and lawyers, keeping the buyer's identity private until this moment. Now, as the final papers were about to be signed, they would learn who had purchased their struggling hotel chain. The CEO took his seat at the head of the table, directly across from the hotel manager and senior staff who had been called in for the meeting. Some of them were the same people who had denied him a room half a year ago. He could see them trying to place where they'd seen him before, a dim recognition crossing their faces. Opening his leather portfolio, he removed the printed document they had given him during his last visit, the one stating his confirmed reservation couldn't be honored. He placed it carefully on the table beside the final acquisition papers, watching as understanding slowly dawned in their eyes. "Good morning," he said, his voice calm and clear. "Some of you may remember me from my last visit to this hotel." The room fell completely silent. Today, I'm here in a different capacity. As of this morning, my company has acquired the Grand Plaza Hotel Group. The shock in the room was palpable. The front desk staff who had been invited to the meeting looked down at their hands. The security guard shifted uncomfortably. But instead of the anger or revenge they might have expected, the CEO's next words surprised them all. "I'm not here to discuss the past," he continued, opening a folder containing his plans for the hotel's future. "I'm here to talk about transformation. About making this hotel a place that truly lives up to its motto of excellence and service for every guest who walks through those doors." He began sharing his vision for the hotel's renovation, highlighting the opportunities it would create for the current staff. He spoke about training programs, about community involvement, about modernization that would make their jobs easier and guest experiences better. With each word, the tension in the room slowly transformed into cautious hope. "What happened to me here was unfortunate," he said, nearing the end of his presentation. "But it's also an opportunity. An opportunity to show that real change is possible. That excellence isn't just about luxury. It's about dignity, respect, and welcome for all." Looking around the table, he could see different emotions on different faces: shame, relief, curiosity, excitement. But most importantly, he saw understanding. Understanding that this wasn't about punishment, but about progress. Not about revenge, but about renewal. "Now," he said, picking up his pen to sign the final papers, "let's begin the real work of transformation." As he signed his name, he wasn't just becoming the owner of a hotel. He was opening a new chapter in its story. The first month of transformation at the Grand Plaza Hotel started not with construction, but with conversation. The new owner spent time with every department, from housekeeping to management, listening to their experiences and ideas. He sat in the staff break room, sharing coffee with employees who had never before seen an owner take interest in their daily challenges. "Tell me what would make your job better," he asked a housekeeper who had worked at the hotel for 15 years. Her eyes lit up as she described a new type of cleaning cart she'd seen at a conference, one that would save her steps and prevent back strain. Within a week, the entire housekeeping department had these new carts. The physical renovation began gradually, one section at a time, to keep the hotel operating. The staff watched in amazement as dated wallpaper came down and fresh, modern designs went up. But the most significant changes weren't visible on the walls. They were happening in the hearts and minds of the people who worked there. Every morning began with a new kind of staff meeting. Instead of just reviewing tasks, they talked about real situations and how to handle them better. Role-playing exercises helped staff practice making every guest feel welcomed, regardless of their appearance or background. The security team learned new approaches that emphasize genuine threat assessment rather than prejudiced assumptions. The front desk staff, who had once turned him away, now found themselves enrolled in advanced hospitality courses at the local community college, with all expenses paid by the hotel. "We're investing in your growth," the owner told them. "Because when you grow, we all grow." He brought in experts to teach about different cultures and traditions, helping staff understand the diverse needs of international guests. The hotel's restaurant staff learned about dietary requirements from various religions and cultures. The concierge team expanded their knowledge of local attractions that would appeal to guests from all backgrounds. But perhaps the most innovative change was the introduction of the Future Hotelier program. High school students from underserved communities were invited to shadow hotel staff, learning every aspect of the hospitality industry. The owner made sure these internships came with stipends, making them accessible to students who couldn't afford to work for free. The old business center transformed into a modern co-working space, complete with the latest technology. Local entrepreneurs were invited to use the space at reduced rates, bringing fresh energy into the hotel's lobby. The tired ballrooms became state-of-the-art event venues, attracting diverse conferences and celebrations that had never before considered the Grand Plaza. One day, A young front desk trainee asked the owner why he hadn't fired the staff who had discriminated against him. He smiled and replied, "Because changing minds is more powerful than changing personnel. When people learn and grow, they share that growth with others." The hotel's reputation began to shift. Social media buzzed with positive reviews praising not just the renovated facilities, but the genuine warmth of the staff. Industry magazines took notice, running features about the innovative training programs and community initiatives. 6 months into the transformation, the owner hosted a special dinner for all staff members and their families. The grand ballroom was filled with people who had been part of this journey of change. Children of staff members played together while their parents shared stories of how the hotel had evolved. Standing at the podium, looking out at the faces of his team, the owner felt a deep sense of satisfaction. The same room where he had once been made to feel unwelcome was now filled with laughter, celebration, and unity. The training programs had expanded to include neighboring hotels, spreading the impact beyond the Grand Plaza's walls. As he raised his glass to toast his staff, he saw tears in some of their eyes. They weren't just hotel employees anymore. They were pioneers of change, showing the hospitality industry that excellence comes from inclusion, understanding, and respect. 5 years passed in what felt like the blink of an eye. The tech CEO stood in the Grand Plaza's lobby, watching the morning light stream through the restored windows. The space buzzed with activity. Business travelers tapping on laptops, tourists taking photos of the historic architecture, and local college students studying in the modernized lounge areas. A group of young interns from the Future Hotelier program hurried past, their badges showing they represented hotels from across the country. What had started as a single hotel's training program had grown into an industry-leading initiative, with over 50 hotels now participating in the educational partnership. The front desk, once a place of discrimination, had become a symbol of welcome. The staff moved efficiently between guests, their natural warmth evident in every interaction. On the wall behind them hung a simple plaque reading, "Everyone's welcome here," not just words, but a living philosophy that the hotel practiced every day. Walking through the corridors, the owner smiled at the sight of a maintenance worker teaching a young apprentice how to repair an air conditioning unit. The apprenticeship program had opened doors for dozens of young people who might never have considered a career in hotel operations. Many of them had gone on to management positions, both at the Grand Plaza and other hotels. In the newly renovated conference center, a hospitality industry summit was underway. Hotel managers from around the world had gathered to learn about the Grand Plaza's approach to inclusive excellence. The owner caught fragments of conversation as he passed. Discussions about implementing similar training programs, about changing corporate cultures, about making the hospitality industry truly hospitable for everyone. He paused by a wall of photographs near the grand staircase. The images told the story of the hotel's transformation. Construction crews at work, staff training sessions, community events, graduation ceremonies for the first class of future hoteliers. But his favorite photo showed the hotel's entire team gathered together, their faces reflecting the diversity that had become the Grand Plaza's greatest strength. A young woman approached him, one of the front desk staff who had been there on that difficult day 5 years ago. She had since completed her degree in hospitality management, paid for by the hotel's education program, and now managed guest services. "Do you ever regret not firing us?" she asked quietly. He thought for a moment before responding. "The easy path would have been to start over with new people," he said. "But real change happens when we give people the chance to learn and grow. You're living proof of that." In his office overlooking the city, industry awards lined the walls, not for the hotel's luxury or its profits, but for its groundbreaking approaches to training, community engagement, and inclusive hospitality. The Grand Plaza had become more than just a successful business. It was a model for what the industry could become. The owner's phone buzzed with news from his development team. 3 more struggling hotels had agreed to join their hospitality group, ready to undergo their own transformations. Each would receive not just physical renovations, but the full program of training and community engagement that had made the Grand Plaza special. Later that afternoon, he watched a graduation ceremony for the latest class of future hoteliers. The young graduates, representing every background imaginable, stood proudly in their uniforms. Many already had job offers from top hotels across the country. As he handed out certificates, he remembered his grandmother's words about showing people who you can become. The day ended with a community dinner in the Grand Ballroom, a monthly tradition that brought together hotel staff, local residents, and business leaders. Looking around the room, he saw people who might never have crossed paths now sharing stories and laughter over good food. This, he realized, was his true legacy. Not just the successful business he built, but the ripples of change spreading out through the industry. The incident that could have been just another story of discrimination had become a catalyst for transformation, proving that the best response to closed doors is to build new ones. Doors that stay open for everyone.